We are recording and streaming with Dr. Lindsay on Tuesday, January 9th, 2024 at 12:10 p.m. Eastern Time. And I've told everyone, and I keep saying it, the reason why I'm not using the good camera is the good camera gets hot and I need to have the air conditioner on to cool it, but it's 20 degrees outside, so I'm not turning on the air conditioner, which is why we're using the iMac camera and not the good camera. And as I can now so happily say, after only 4 years and 1,400 episodes, I do have a couple sponsors now. Fox and Sons Coffee, Heaven's Harvest Prepper Food, The Wellness Company. Those are all in the description. Use promo code Tommy to get 10% off and get something for yourself. Not to be depressing, but if we are heading towards World War III, you might want to get some freeze-dried food. But on that cheery note, Dr. Lindsay, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks, Tommy. I just realized my computer's not plugged in, though. My admin put it back and didn't plug it in. So if I don't plug in, I'm about to lose battery.
Plug it in.
So
Plug it in.
we
I'll
might
mon
want
I'll
to.
monologue. I'll monologue. Yeah. Well, as you guys can
Okay.
see, she has the coziest sweater on. I commented on it as soon as she came on. It looks very warm and cozy. That's why I have a blanket on. Um, But yeah, so, I think I first came across her before I was permanently banned from Twitter. I first came across her Twitter, I wanna say sometime in November or December, and as I go to for all of my doctor connections, I texted Dr. McCullough and asked, I was like, "By any chance, do you know her?" And he immediately got back to me with her number, and I was like, "Of course you know.
I'm gonna
Of course you
switch
have her
this
number."
over here.
"Yeah, you're good." Um, so yeah, I mean,
Oh,
just got it? So yeah, we're going to be talking about, well, Dr. Lindsay is a toxicologist, and I know you've testified before really about the corruption and complicity with all things COVID. And although that's not a new topic, I always do think it is. I think there's a reason why I continually do these episodes, and it is to both provide evidence as well as document the corruption and complicity that has gone on around all things COVID. So, Dr. Lindsay, could you, for my audience, could you please introduce yourself?
sure, sure. Thanks, Tommy. And sorry for all the
No, no, you're good. You're good. I
the
get up and
workings
run around.
around there.
No, I'm spilling water. I literally just got my mom got me a hydro flask with a cap on because more shows than not, I would spit, the doctor be in the middle of saying something and I'd spill a big thing of it, just walk off screen and covered in water and the guest is stuck there staring at me awkwardly. Do not, do not apologize. Um,
All right.
yeah, no, you're good.
I'm a toxicologist and a molecular biologist, and I'm a consultant for a living. I work on legal cases mostly, but I also help do research for companies uh, for their products and litigation that may arise out of their products or allegations that their products might be harmful. Um, I have been heavily researching COVID as a toxicologist and a molecular biologist since the beginning, as you know, and of course, found the lies pretty early. And it was very alarming. And what was more alarming was the lack of my colleagues who had to also know these were lies, not standing up,
Mm.
but instead keeping silent or even being a part of the lies. And that was very concerning for me.
There always is an importance with having, I don't know what the correct terminology would be, so I'll use as a broad stroke an expert witness for something like medicine, right? For the average Joe like myself, I would have no idea if if a doctor screwed up. I got my tonsils out in 2014. I wouldn't know, and I'm just thankful it worked and I didn't die. So I'm like, hey, there we go. But let's say something had happened, you would want someone, medical malpractice, lawyer or someone who has, I would want maybe a doctor from this podcast to be like, actually, hey, that's not the norm. X, Y, and Z happened. And whereas I don't understand any of it, and well, I did take biology in college and I loved molecular biology, but let's say I didn't do any of that. Whereas the average person, it's like I don't know, you go to Jiffy Lube and they try to just get your oil change, and next thing you know, you're like, I need $38,000 of upgrades, and if your dad's with you or husband's with you, for me, I mean, no, you don't. You don't need any of that. Tell them to shut up. So for the average person, this is all, myself included. it is all intimidating. It is, and you don't really, they can very quickly come to you with a couple of charts and a couple of long chemical names, and I start blushing, I get embarrassed, and I shut up. But for someone like yourself that has an expertise in this and has an understanding of it, what were the lies that you caught early on? What were the ones that stuck out to you?
Well, very easily, they tried to claim it wasn't a gene therapy. Um, I, I mean, it was just absurd. As I said, I have a PhD in molecular biology, which is the study of DNA and RNA and protein. And I absolutely knew it was a gene therapy. We've always called those gene therapies, and they were insisting that it wasn't. And I thought, this is the strangest thing. Why are they saying that it's not a gene therapy? Trying to couch it as a traditional vaccine, not warning people about any of the dangers that have been known for a very long time with gene therapies, such as latent cancers from insertional mutagenesis, autoimmune attacks, sepsis, massive cytokine storms. None of that was being discussed. Um, it's like a whole field of science was just thrown out the window, and they insisted that black was white. Herd immunity was being redefined. I mean, whenever have you taken multiple vaccines, every few months in order to maintain an immune response?
Hmm.
Even with the traditional vaccine, I mean, that's insane. And then they were saying if you didn't have high titers of antibodies all the time in your blood, to the antigen, that you weren't immune anymore. That's crazy. We don't keep antibodies to everything that we've ever made antibodies to running around in our blood all the time. We are not primed like that all the time. It's only when we get in a danger situation and our uh, frontline immune system, our T cells, can't handle the assault, that then we get our memory B cells making the antibodies to that particular thing. So the idea that we just had to always have high titers of antibodies against this antigen was also crazy.
Hmm.
Um, any number of things. The deaths. I knew how many deaths had stopped the other vaccines very early on,
Like
and they
30.
just kept going, and they weren't talking about them. Uh, Deaths in children. I mean, I thought for sure in the summer of 221, when the CDC, there was an article that came out about the CDC investigating, I think it was 497 cases of myocarditis in 12 to 17-year-olds and 14 deaths. I thought for sure right then everything was going to get shut down. No, and now, of course, we're into the tens of thousands of myocarditis cases, if not millions, including subclinical cases, I'm sure. Nothing's stopping this train.
That is an interesting note. Is well, one, yeah, the flu vaccine, right? I think it was 1976. I think Dr. McCall has talked about that on here before.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
first one, the swine flu vaccine that was pulled after 26 cases, well, deaths from
Hmm.
Guillain-Barré.
And I guess my logic has always been you would increase that threshold if it was an existential, almost extinction level. I don't know. Let's say they paired Marburg with Ebola and anthrax and rabies, right?
Don't
Some
give them any ideas.
well, no, they've been doing it. And I interviewed Dr. Ken Alabek, who defected from the Soviet Union in 1991. He was the head of the Soviet Union. His book Biohazard, they were doing just about all of that. So my point
And tell
is
me his name again.
Dr. Ken Alabek. I think it's an
Okay,
Englishized version.
there was another Russian doctor, and I can't think of his name right now, but he headed up Wyoming or Colorado's uh, COVID response in their health department before
Mm.
he started speaking out and saying that this was planned and
Yeah, not Dr. Al. I think his Soviet or Russian. It's like Americanized Ken Albeck. I think it's like Kenenchek or something. But in his book Biohazard, he talks about what they're doing. Yeah, like mixing tularemia with like strep throat and pneumonia and putting it in missiles. And like my point is if that happens, sure, we're not gonna stop the train at 27 deaths. That much I get that argument. But with COVID, that it doesn't make any of the deaths inconsequential. It doesn't mean any one of the, you know, grandmas that passed doesn't make it any less sad. I understand that, but to gaslight people and to bully people and to censor people and really utilizing the argument that you're killing grandma if you don't take this. And it's something that private corporations are producing and getting wild record profit numbers on. There's all sorts of things to that raise your eyebrow, but it's, you can grab any one of them. And for, I think what you said is, why are they not calling it a gene therapy? It's just a simple, that in itself isn't necessarily a crazy bad thing, but it's when any lie whatsoever, it does start to make you wonder. Like, I don't know, let's say I'm hanging out with my little brother or something, and I go and throw something away in the trash, and I see a McDonald's wrapper. I'm like, oh, what'd you get? And if he's like, I didn't get anything. I'd be like, no, is you a Whopper or Big Mac? Have a little cheat day. I've never been to McDonald's. I'd be like, what are you talking about, dude? It's right there. It's not that
Right.
nothing wrong with going to McDonald's, but if it was something like that, or if your girlfriend's, I've never been to McDonald's, eventually you'd be like, I don't care if you. I'm just now you're creeping me out. Like, but
For Fauci, there was no gain of function.
there's something going on. Exactly. So there's something going on where it's like that. The fact itself isn't. If it's gene therapy, it's like, yeah, sure. That is the future of going decades out. Sure. Well, we will get to precise gene editing and sure. But it's odd to even lie about that. So when the lies start stacking up like that, or yeah, the titers of antibodies, you have to have this at all times, or the frequent use, the frequent shots. Sure, you get a tetanus booster, but it's like 10 years apart.
Every 10 years, and you
Yeah.
really
So
only need it every 20.
yeah, so I've gotten one booster, and it was the tetanus booster, and I actually got that during the pandemic. So I did get a booster, but I didn't get none of the vaccines. But that much is okay. The entire thing around it is is eerie, and there seems to be a militant response to it, to anyone that questions it. Why is that?
Well, it's not only a militant response, it's a military response.
Hmm.
And that's an important distinction. And as for shots and the ones that we would normally take and get and trust, at this time, I would not take a single injection from your government because your government is behind this. Whether it's deep state actors, whether it's the people at the very top, uh, it is a global coup. It
Hmm.
is happening in every country that practices any kind of democracy. And I believe it's a depopulation effort. And I
Hmm.
know, that probably sounds alarming, and it should. But after everything that I've researched uh, and gone through, and the responses from the people, coming back when the FDA and the CDC still continue to lie, when Peter Marks and Fauci and still continue to lie and come back saying, "Oh, that SV40, it's not a big deal." Um, when they've researched SV40 for years, since the 50s, and know or 40s, and know how dangerous it is, and know that elements that like a nuclear localization signal that will bring DNA to the nucleus increases the chance of insertional mutagenesis. And if you get a promoter for that SV40 in front of an oncogene, it's cancer. And look, we have exploding cases of cancer and excess death, and nobody's saying anything from the government. So I would just urge people to not be naive and stand up and fight it now we will not have the chance to fight this if we don't stand up and fight it now, not when it gets worse.
Mm.
I truly believe that. And
It's it's taken me, so I didn't even realize, but the episode I did just before this was episode 1400, and I'm normally such a loser with numbers. I'm like, hey, 13. I forgot, so I'm fortunate. But yeah, so now on episode 1401, it took me a long time and really exhausting every other option. And I mean, and not just on my own, not just some dude sitting. I mean, I've interviewed Dr. Malone, Dr. Hatfill, Dr. McCullough, Dr. I mean, truly name them. They've been on here multiple times. And talking to them, you can see them slowly changing over the months and years to be like, this is outright malpractice, and then followed, and then that slowly devolves into like, oh, this is complicity with the government. These corporations are making record profits. To this is a military program. This is backed by the DARPA P3 Adept program. To I mean, you see them approaching it, and you can almost see the same hesitance where they're like, every country is doing this at the same marching orders.
that's
Their
right.
published white papers are the dangers of a population, the population bomb, how we must limit the use of hydrocarbons and decreasing man's imprint
Just
on the earth.
nonsense. It's nonsense. It's
But
just about
will you eventually see it? They all kind of come to this same, there's a very cautious approach to the edge where they go, I think they want to control reproduction. A lot of them they don't want to say it because, hey, they don't need to explain it to me. They're adults with their own jobs. They don't need to. But the only multiple choice answer left after you took cellular biology in college, when you're going through all of them, you're like, I'm not quite sure what the answer is, but I know it's not that. I know it's not that. And finally, you go, yeah, I don't know. It's the fourth protein in the electron transport chain, I guess. And then you get it right, and you go, "Hey, there we go. It was just the least worst answer." That's kind of, and I only, as someone who's not like, I don't back away from conspiracies. I love them. I don't really have any other conclusion other than they want to reduce the number of reproducing humans on Earth, and
that's right.
you almost say it with like, I know for me at least, it's like I feel like I'm getting ready. Everyone's gonna make fun of me, like, you think Santa's real or something. But I'm like, dude, I don't know what else it would be. There's never been something as, let's take like painkillers, like, you know, the Sackler
Like the
family.
opioid
Yeah,
crisis
let's take
was
that, right?
was pales in comparison to the nefariousness behind this.
Yeah,
Yes.
but let's take that. Let's take the Sackler family, the Purdue family. Not Purdue chicken, the other Purdue. You always got to be careful with that, and not the college either, right? Those
Right.
in lockstep. They're moving it all out throughout the entire United States. They're buying off doctors. They're offering timeshares and stock options and kickbacks, and it's not addictive and it's not dangerous. And they're marketing it out in Appalachia, and all the while they're doing that, while they're doing this and saying nothing's happening, they're also researching and trialing Suboxone, because they know eventually that's gonna it's gonna hit the fan with that, and they're gonna have to bring out this new
Yep.
drug. Okay, evil, sure. Addictive drug, sure. Kind of, but to me, I'm like, it's kind of cigarettes or fast food. It's like, yeah, pick your poison, man. And bad, evil, sure. But even that was just, it was just that. There was no marching orders. There was no, you had to take it. There's no, we're removing Tylenol and aspirin. Now everyone needs to use this. No, it was just sort of, I'm not by any means, uh, removing their culpability in that, but it just seemed so small in comparison to this, where it's just a global marching order. I really don't know what else it could be other than it seems to be they want some sort of direct control over the very genetic fabric of life. Can
Well,
you
that's
maybe
right. They
expand
want to
on
play
that?
God.
Yeah.
And Goebbels was famous for saying that the way that they got away with what they got away with was because the
The bigger
more
the lie.
outrageous the act was, the harder it was for people to believe that
Hmm.
someone would do such a thing, which helped them get away with everything. The more atrocious it was, the harder it was for people to accept that anyone could do that. And that's where we are. People just cannot accept that another human being would do this to another human being.
Yeah.
And it's happening, and we've got to stop it. Uh, there are powers that have been delegated to the HHS secretary that basically gives him unilateral control over the decision making process during a public health emergency that he determines. And it doesn't even have to be a true public health emergency. He may be expecting a public health emergency. And if you go to the PHSA, which gives him this authority, it even has a clause in it that says that the secretary can basically do whatever else he thinks he wants to do. Um, it's so undefined. He has a number of powers that are set out. It's under the PHSA. I think it's 27D. Um, but I don't think people realize that the person who's running the show really in this country right now is the HHS secretary. He has the ability on his own to enter into this treaty with the WHO without congressional approval, because we are in a public health emergency that he has extended until December of 2024. Do people realize
I
that a
didn't know that.
singular person can sign that treaty for the United States during a public health emergency? I don't think they do.
I didn't. I thought I thought I knew some of it. It's I was gonna say the Goebbels, yeah. The bigger the lie, the more often you repeat it, and then accuse your enemy of what you're doing. Yeah,
Exactly.
but I've had Dr. Marilyn Nass on here, and she's talked about that the
It's great.
pandemic treaty. I
Mm-hmm.
love her. The pandemic treaty. I didn't know that just a singular.
Yep.
Just can you
Secretary.
comment on that more?
Yeah, so Sasha Latypova and Catherine Watt actually have done a pretty deep dive into this. I
Had
don't know if
Sasha
you've had
on.
Catherine
I've
on.
tried to get Catherine Watt. I've watched her. I've watched
Hmm.
some of her talks before. I've watched it. I remember I think I texted it to
Yeah.
Dr. Malone or Dr. McCullough, and then they tweeted it. I felt so cool. But yeah, they've sorry, go on about it.
She's great. She would be a really good guest to have on because she is very open and blunt about where we are and the laws that have been put around infrastructure that we thought protected us. Um, Everything that they've done is unconstitutional. It's unlawful. Basically, they delegated authority to the HHS that was not theirs to give. You can't give an unconstitutional authority to a singular person that strips away the rights of every US citizen and puts it in the hand of a single man or woman,
Hmm.
and basically gives them the power to quarantine, the power to enter into treaties with other countries, the power to shut the country down, the power to force vaccinate using the military. All of these things lie in the hands of the HHS secretary. The HHS secretary is the one who determines if we are in a pandemic or public health emergency. This guy's an attorney, for God's sake. He's an attorney, and he is the top health science regulatory specialist of the entire country. The FDA is not even involved. The FDA is pretending, as Sasha says. The CDC are pretending. They don't have anything to do with this. It says very clearly that the HHS, and if you go to that it's 21 CFR 360 BBB, that the HHS has the authority and the FDA does not. On the FDA webpage, it says the FDA does not have the authority. The HHS has the authority. So they're all pretending, but they are lying to the American public. And for that, they should all go to prison or worse, because to carry this out, they are all lying to the American public, and that's unconscionable. Um, but people have to wake up pretty fast. Uh, there's one clause, if the manufacturers are found to be acting with willful misconduct, then that would allow you to prosecute them. But guess who gets to decide whether there's willful misconduct? The HHS secretary. Uh, Guess who gets to decide if there's willful misconduct by the HHS secretary?
Who?
The HHS secretary.
Oh.
Yeah. Um, it's ridiculous how these laws were ever, or regulations or amendments to acts. They really aren't laws. They were amendments to acts,
Hmm.
and they're being treated as laws. And we have to stop. We need to get this in front of the Supreme Court. We need to yank Becerra out of his position. We need to yank the Homeland Security guy out of his position. Sorry, Mayorkas. He's just as bad. Um, we just need to get rid of these people.
I think in the talk I'd seen, I think it was a relatively short, maybe 10 or 20 minutes of Catherine Watt and Sasha. I've had Sasha on here. I can't
Mhm.
I can't get in touch with Catherine Watt. If anyone has that connection, please put it in the comments. But the
I'll
talk
ask
out.
her.
Oh, okay. Well, beautiful. It's but the talk I watched is they talked about, or she talked about the concept of the kill box, right? The kill box. And
Yes,
I've had on, I don't just do, as much as I think a lot of people know, this is like the COVID podcast. I interview everyone about everything, and a lot of military guys, a lot of
that's
special
great.
force. Yeah, no, I love it's, and it's not because I have some wide-ranging mind. It's because I have ADD and I have to just suck in as much information as I can about everything. But the concept of the kill box, right, is the Delta Force guys I have on, they'll talk about work smarter, not harder. You funnel the enemy into like a small alley or something, and then two guys with two guns could take on 100 people because they're only coming in one at a time. That's your kill box. Or you get them into this area and then artillery rains down and you delete that whole city block. It's you get them into essentially the crosshairs of whatever it is you're trying to do. That's the kill box, right? You're in there, you're done. Don't go in there. That's the kill box. And you have duration. So it's how long is the attack going to happen, right? Bin Laden raid, let's say it's 5 minutes, all right? Then you have the actual parameters of it. So you can establish the actual, geographic and time and space, how big it is. And then what
Mhm.
is the mode you're using? Is it a gun? Is it a bomb? Is it a laser? Is it napalm? Is it gas? Is it whatever? It's your kill box. And she goes in and describes how, this kill box is the planet. The weapon is the shot, and the duration is permanent. And how that these, and as Dr. McCullough talked about, is around, I think, December 2022 when
Mhm.
we did that I've had him on here like 50 times, but that specific episode,
He's wonderful. Yeah.
I love him. He's my hero.
He's such a good man. He's just a good
He's
man.
legitimately a better person than me. It's not just that he's smarter. I'm like, no, he is
And
objectively,
he's that
factually.
as well.
He is,
Yes.
he
He
is,
deserves the accolade.
yeah. Oh
Hmm.
yeah, no, and didn't he run like, doesn't he run a marathon in like each state or something? He's, it's too much.
Oh,
He's
I'm
too
not
good.
sure he's in excellent shape. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's too much almost. And but he talked about how, the papers came out about DARPA's ADEPT program and how really they rolled these vaccines out using Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson and Johnson, and AstraZeneca really as distributors. They didn't create them; they just rolled them out.
Right. And
That's
even
an
Metabiota is selling
Yeah.
insurance. So I don't know how deep you've gone down
I haven't. I
that
need to.
rabbit hole.
I've recognized the. Well, I was gonna say, so with all these, it really does. It dawns on you that this is a Pentagon rollout. So even with like HHS, I'm like, in my mind, I'm just thinking like that just seems like the modern form of. I bet that's just the DoD wearing HHS as a puppet. Could you comment on Metabiota though? I haven't gone down that rabbit hole. I need to.
So there's been a few things out there. Destiny Renendez has actually done a really, I'm probably butchering her last name, has done a really good job at doing a deep dive into the research on Rosemont Seneca and Metabiota and their ties to uh, the DTRA and the DOD, BARDA, Eco Health Alliance, etc.
Hmm.
But so one of their selling points was that they were going to have these pathogens that they could, you know, basically release, and then they would sell the insurance to the countries to help them manage the pandemic. What was what were the other points of it? Basically, all the things you need for a tiny little pandemic in your country, that also accomplishes population control. Uh, but you make a profit along the way. Make sure you have your cancer centers and your heart centers set up, and depend, whatever, depending on the pandemic that you roll out. It's absolutely crazy. Um, they went into one of the things that was pointed out is that we at a time in the 90s we were supposed to shut down all the biolabs in Ukraine and Russia.
Hmm.
We were telling them that they, I think it's the Nunn-Loons Act or something, we were telling them that they had to shut down all of their biolabs. We weren't going to do any gain of function or mess around with those messy agents anymore. So we told them they needed to shut all their stuff down. And then we said we were going to go into Ukraine and shut all the Ukrainian labs down. But instead of doing that, they revamped the Ukrainian labs and actually started with more sophisticated bioweapons research. So, absolutely the opposite of what they said they were going to do. Um, we really, really have to get a handle on what's going on and uh, find a way to remove these people from power. It's serious. We have no future for our generations, for our children, our grandchildren, if we don't. They'll be slaves, uh, or won't make it, if they're not deemed useful. So it's pretty heavy stuff, but it's necessary. We have a an initiative, We the People 50 Recall the Shots, that I started along with the former Feds group. I don't know if you've talked to Cece at all, Cece Blakeman.
No, but that website sound that or not website, that group sounds familiar.
Well, there are many groups with the name. After after coming up with the name We the People 50 Recall the Shots, it's wethepeople50.com. One of my colleagues called me and said, "You have to change the name. You have to change the name. There's a We the People 50 that's up here in Salt Lake, and the legislators think they're terrorists, and you have to change the name. There's no way I can get you in to see our legislators unless you change the name of your initiative." And I said, I'm not changing the name. Just tell them it's We the People 50 Recall the Shots.
Yeah.
Um, but we're taking a grassroots approach at informing people of the dangers of the shots and what's going on to try to get counties, individual counties, to ban these shots. We're also going to all of the state attorney generals and providing them with information and putting them on notice. That is the initiative, to reach every state, every attorney general, as many counties as we can, and warn people of what's going on. And we've been doing a lot up in Idaho with Laura DeMarais, who has gotten us into 3 different counties and the health department up there. And we have 3 counties that have signed a resolution to ban these shots
Mm.
and do investigations. So I'm very proud of that, and we are going to keep up the effort and keep on moving. They're having some success in Florida as well. Another group, Joe Sansone and his group, are having some effectiveness down there too. Because if we can't get people at the state level, if we can't get the attorney generals, if we can't get Congress, if we can't get the people who are supposed to do their job to do their job, then we have to warn people and let them know what's going on so that they can take care of themselves and their families. and fight back.
In terms of the global coup, I mean, it really is one of the things where I don't know, like there's a it's like memes, right? There's a funny meme about a meme, and it's like when you're trying to show a meme to a friend, but it's so far into like online inside jokes that you have to explain like seven different generations of memes just to get to the final
Right.
meme. It's like an inside joke based on an inside joke based. You're like, I can't. We got to lay down the groundwork before we can get to here. With this, it almost is. There's so many layers and so many books and so many speeches and white papers and things you have to read to finally get to the point. But I mean, really, it seems like the best I can conclude in my limited knowledge as a 33-year-old who admittedly has no idea if I'm right or wrong. The best I can conclude is that throughout all of human history, you've always had a very small number of people ruling over the rest, and might equals right. You use the most power, and you either use, or religion or power, from Pharaoh being God or the king with the mandate of heaven, whatever you want. But you've always needed the people around in order to, I don't know, work the fields or to build the pyramids or to whatever it is. You always need the cattle. But we're approaching something that, there's nothing new under the sun, in that whether it's bow and arrows or guns or lasers, weapons always improve. So as much as things improve, they're also still just kind of the same. It's might equals right. The people with the most weapons rule the world and the resources. Got it. We are approaching something that has never happened in human history, though, with robotics and with artificial intelligence. That for the first time ever, the kings, the emperors, the pharaohs, whatever you want to call them, the apex of power. We're not quite there, but we're rapidly approaching a point where they don't need us. And the second they don't need us, I think they'll remove us. And they're not going to flee the planet and go settle Mars. They already have this place. They're going to clean this one up. And they're going to clean it up, and you and I are the dirt that needs to be cleaned. They're going to roll it out. It didn't just it's not opioids and it's just happening in certain places. It's happening over the entire planet. Everyone's in the same marching orders. COVID, though killed some people, is a remarkably just kind of mundane illness. Yet they're using this as the nuclear threat that we all need to be scared of. I really cannot, and I've tried. I've legitimately tried, because not only do I have to, just as a mental exercise, I also have wanted to find any other explanation. I really don't have any other like conclusive thesis than we are at a point in human history where they no longer need the cattle. And so they're getting rid of the cattle.
Well, they think they don't.
They think they don't.
They think they don't. And that's, perception is reality.
Mm-hmm.
They do need this. They can't hardly do anything by themselves.
They knew nothing.
Um,
They can touch kids on an
and
island. That's about it.
as we know, AI is as effective as that which programs it.
Mm-hmm.
And it AI will never replace humans. It will never. There is, and we will never be able to fashion humans or plants or anything the way that God has,
Mm.
the way that we were designed by our Creator. And I think playing God is what got us here in the first place,
Mm.
or trying to play God. And, you know, there's hope. These are bodysuits that we wear here on Earth. This is not us. Uh, we are so much more than our physical beings on this earth.
Mm.
But we carry a lot with us and we learn a lot, and it's important what we do here and how we treat others and interact with others, and the experience is important. So we need to fix this. We need to stand up against, I mean, it's good versus evil. It truly is. And I'm not speaking as a scientist here. I'm just speaking as a mom and a human.
Mm.
It's good versus evil.
That more doctors have said that on here, that have, They're like, I try to break it down into something else, but they're like, I really have no other argument than this is. I mean, we're seeing the light versus the darkness, and it's surreal because you're like, why am I seeing this? I was born in New England. I'm not a huge sports fan, but growing up, I understood the importance of like the Red Sox. Seeing the Red Sox win the World Series, I remember watching Game 7. I was like 15. I was like, this is pretty surreal. I'm seeing the thing end, the curse, right? You're like, oh my God, wow. It's pretty surreal to see it, but it's across every country, affecting every people's. It really is good. I mean, it's almost cheesy how poetic it is, right? They're imitating life with AI. They're playing God. They're trying to create the utopia, and it's for your health, and they're trying to turn you on one another. It really is like every deception, it's stuff when you're younger and you read in the Bible and you're like, "Oh, I don't believe this." And it's like you're watching it happen. I don't I have no other I have no other explanation either. We're watching good versus evil, and it's the most insane thing to actually see, but we're
But
watching
we
it.
can fight back. We can stand
Absolutely, we
up.
can.
This determination that, oh, they're just going to do this, rule over us, and we don't have any ability to stop what's happening is a bunch of BS. But people need to get some intestinal fortitude and stop being such wimps and do something. It can't all be about money. Nobody's going to have anything. They're not going to have your retirement. You're not going to have your investments. You're not going to have your house. Uh, if you think you're saving something by not speaking out, you're not saving anything. You're just dooming the rest of humanity to what you yourself are going to face. You're not going to be treated specially. What happens in all communist coups? The ones that enabled the coup that were traitors in the first place are the first ones that
Uh,
are shot because
First
they're not
ones.
trustworthy.
Exactly. And not only that, they've shown that they're capable of enacting change. They're the first one shot. They're always the
Right.
first one. Ken Clisby's willing accomplices, former CIA agent, talks about how the KGB would you'd throw 10 agents over to the United States. They'd all have an order to, I don't know, take over a local school board or a radio or something. 8 would fail, and some of those would just be defecting. Others were just incompetent. 2 would set something up, and they'd set up a self-sustaining system of other communists on a college campus, and they did the job, and they were good comrades, and they would be called back to the Soviet Union to receive their reward. And they were brought to Lubyanka prison and shot in the head because they proved that they were competent enough that if they could overthrow the U.S., one day they might overthrow the Soviets. So they were iced. You're the first against the wall. There is no there is no winning with these people. It's the what is it, the scorpion going across gets on the back of the animal and swims across the river, and I won't sting
Yep.
you in the back, and you're like, all right, thank you. And then he gets across and he stabs you in the back. You go, why'd you do that? And he goes, you knew I was a scorpion when I got on your back. That's on you, brother.
Yep.
And it is.
That's also the parable of the snake
The snake, yeah,
that
maybe I'm
Trump
butchering
likes
it.
to, that Trump likes to talk about, which it's hard to know who to trust uh, in these times. It's really hard. Um, I don't trust anybody that is not 100% behind stopping these shots and getting rid of the people that are actuating this.
Hmm.
So nobody will get my vote. Not, I mean, at this point, does your vote matter?
Hmm. Yeah.
Will we even get to vote? Something needs to happen before then where we get control of the situation, obviously. And we can't let what happened the last time
Hmm.
continue,
And, and
which really means we're going to have a portion of our military stand in and help.
I I've said before on here, I think that's what's probably going to happen. And that's not something and I always use this, and I know people probably rolling their eyes because I've said it so many times on here. And I know I got to let you go in a minute, but something as simple as like, what do I think is going to happen when I let go of the pen? It's going to fall on me. Now, this doesn't really matter because that's inconsequential. Just because I think something's going to happen doesn't mean I want it to happen. I think what's going to happen I think you probably have some beyond patriotic GI Joe character in the military or in the NSA or in the NRO or someone that's watching something and they're seeing this and they're seeing the country they took an oath for and their grandpa probably fought on Iwo Jima and they're looking at this and they're going, yeah, I'm not going to let this stand. And it means we're probably going to have the military step in. Is that what I want to happen? No, because that's not good for a democracy. That's kind of a death knell. It's what I think is probably going to happen. It can only go so far. You can only have the border open for so long. You can only have counting pause in so many states at the same time because somebody's leading, and then 99% of all, incoming ballots on pallets at the middle of the night are for one guy. You're having some general somewhere chomping on a cigar that's had just about enough. And I don't want it to be that. And but I think that's what it's going to be. And so I'm with you. And as far as the trust thing goes, you shouldn't trust anyone. You shouldn't trust me. You might like my podcast. You might like the people I interview. Don't trust me. You don't know who I am. You don't know what my agenda is. I don't think I have an agenda, but you don't know what my agenda is. Use your own eyes, use your own ears, use your own deductive capabilities that God gave you. You don't need to trust me. Follow your own heart, follow your own gut, and you'll find the answer. Um, Lastly, I want to ask, have you written a book?
I have not.
I feel like you should.
Um, I am I am really busy, being a mom and being
I'll hear
and
none of it.
working.
I'll hear none of it.
Yeah. So I write quite a lot. I write for a living. I write expert reports for a living on the various topics that I'm researching and helping my clients with. So I certainly write every day. Um, I write reports for these COVID cases. I do a lot of kid cases, divorced parents. One parent wants to vaccinate the kids with the COVID shots and the other doesn't. And these are heartbreaking.
Hmm.
In one of the cases, they basically gave the dad the authority over the son and the mom the authority over the daughter. It's heartbreaking. Kids don't need these shots. That kids have never been at risk. And as has come out, they always knew about the myocarditis. They always knew these shots were dangerous and were going to basically cause heart failure. Um, and it targets the kids the most.
Hmm.
And yet they've convinced parents that somehow COVID is more dangerous for their children than giving these experimental gene therapies. It's just tragic,
Back
you
to
know?
the opioid thing. It doesn't make that any less evil, but there is something about an adult is going to be an adult. I'm 33. If I go and choose to start popping pills, I can blame as many people as I want, but ultimately it's my fault.
That's right.
Injecting kids with something that is going to ruin their heart. I mean, that's that's demonic. That's pure evil. There's no
It is. And the
and
people behind this that are doing this, that are promoting this
they're
at the
monsters.
CDC, at the FDA, at CBER, shame on all of them,
Yeah. It's
on all of them.
it's pure evil. It's
It is.
there's very few things that I feel like I can say with absolute, conviction. That's evil. That is, I mean, that is a biblical perversion of innocence. It is pure evil. Um, not that I wouldn't like to continue this cheery conversation, but I think
I know
I
it's
don't
gotten a little.
no no I really do think you should, I think you should write a book. I don't know if I don't think I say that to people that often, but I think you
Oh,
should.
that's
No, I think you should. I really do. It's you kind of you know a lot of the things that I was going to bring up, and that's frankly impressive. I think you should write a book about
instead
your
of
book.
writing a book, I'd like to stop these people. And so I don't want anybody writing books right now.
Sure,
Nothing. I
fair enough.
want them to stop writing books. I want them to stop going on tours. I want us to stop this. 100% effort needs to go into stopping this at the county level, at the town level, at your neighbor's level. Go knock on their door. Go say, hey, did you know how dangerous these shots are? I mean, my family's, they're always rolling their eyes, but everywhere we go, I tell complete strangers how dangerous the shots are.
That's why I do all these podcasts. And people are like, why do you keep doing these? I'm like, I have to. I don't my conscience will
And
not be
thank you.
clear. Of course. We will wrap it up.
For sure.
Uh thank you so much.
Oh,
Guys.
no, thanks for having me on. It
Yes,
took a
ma'am.
little bit to get us here,
No,
but
no, 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 no.
we've got lots of things going on that we didn't even touch on, so
Yeah, no, we
we'll have
will
to
do.
resume again, and I'll let you know about some of our other efforts. And
We'll
we're gonna stop this.
we'll do another. No, and in terms of the back and forth, and that always happens. That is the norm for me to get guests on. We play tennis with dates, and then finally it clicks and it's good, and it's all. So don't worry about that. And yeah, if you could put in a word to Catherine Watt for me, that would be amazing. I've had
Yeah,
Sasha Latipova
absolutely.
on here or I think a couple times, yeah. And but I would love to get Catherine on here, guys. If you go in the description. Your Twitter is in the description. I am permanently banned from Twitter and YouTube and iTunes and Reddit. So that's why I think I'm trustworthy. I'm banned from all those. I'm banned from all those platforms. I
I'm
don't know what.
banned from LinkedIn.
Oh, you
Yeah, I've
are.
been thrown off base. Oh
There
yeah,
you
that was
go.
that
There you
was the
go.
first when I said that it was the vaccinated, not the unvaccinated, that were spreading the variants and creating the variants and warned about the reproductive hazards. Yeah.
That's your street cred.
And that's something that we need to talk about next time,
Sure.
the possibilities of slipping in codes for peptides, like Hans George Frank's peptides, 12 MERS, 12 amino acids, 9 variations that will sterilize you. Uh,
Making
it's
a note.
been brought to patent by Aplogen, and they could be slipped into any of these shots. None would be the wiser because there's so much broken RNA and so much broken DNA, you'd never know.
I just made a note of that. I'm gonna schedule you for another one, and we will talk about that. Dr. Lindsay,
You
thank you
take
for your
care, Tommy. Thank you so much.
thank you so much for your time, guys. Please go in the description. Please go follow her on Twitter. And until next time, thank you so much for your time, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Where's the mouse?